What's up, everybody? Celtic Scarecrow back with our video. Get those 10s and 20 views. Kind of bounce around with things to do on Saturday. I'm not really sure. I do have extra credit to channel, and there is a where is it? Irish history. Yeah, that's one that I might get onto. But today I'm doing a video by a channel called Minty Comic Arts. And it is 10 things you did not know about Are You Afraid of Dark series. Now, I'm hoping this is 10 things you know about the original series. I have not checked out the newer-ish one. Are You Afraid of Dark is by far one of my favorite shows from my childhood because it was spooky, comedy, good kid entry level into horror. And so, yeah, let's go check this out. Pop over here. I know I did not set this up. Oh, I did do a video. I'll post the thing in the corners. See if you people help me draw my D&D character. Maybe something we do once a month. You know, I pop an idea in my head, see people draw, and then we review it. But that would be actually kind of cool. You know. Yes, I know I could technically pay somebody, but you know, I'm a poor boy with 67 subscribers. I have no extra money to pay people. But enough of the chatter. Let's yeah. Also, I do get enough subscribers, and they say it's the reason I will go mustache the rest of the month. How's that? It's something like November mustache, but yeah, we got weird. But you know, if somehow I hit 80 by the end of before the end of the month, I'll go straight mustache just the rest of the videos for the month. And partially December. So it'll be that. Oh yeah, there's a disclaimer. There. See, I like this. Not kids find interesting, but not made for kids.
During the 90s, if you were a kid and wanted some good old scares, but weren't old enough to watch horror movies yet, then Are You Afraid of the Dark had you covered.
Yeah, oh yeah, it did. Double check to make sure everything's going.
From 1992 to 2000, this anthology series would tell stories of haunted, scary tales, which usually involved pre-teen kids who would come up against many supernatural ghouls and situations, such as ghosts, curses, demons, witches, clowns, vampires.
That one was an alien, but
And other folklore and urban legends. Each episode would start off with the Midnight Society, whom are a secret group of kids who meet up at a campfire at midnight to tell scary tales.
There's a good theory that a lot of people think that these kids are actually dead.
A secret society led by this guy, Gary, who takes the role of being the leader of the Midnight Society very seriously. So if you're going to tell him a
Yeah, well, he was the older brother type.
scary tale, you better make sure that it's a good one, or you ain't making it into the club. Are You
That wasn't just Gary. It had to be a unanimous vote there, buddy.
Afraid of the Dark was kind of like The Twilight Zone and Tales from the Crypt, only aimed at kids, in the 9 to 15-year-old age range. And back in the day, some of these episodes could be really quite terrifying. The question is,
Yeah, I actually almost rewatch this almost every year.
are you brave enough to join the Midnight Society? So gather around as we tell tales about Are You Afraid of the Dark by looking into 10 things that you didn't know about this classic TV show.
Is it me or does he seem like British version of Bill Burr? It's the look.
So, submitted for the approval of the Midnight Society, let's check it out.
And if this video is any good, I will say go check him out. Right now, I kind of like his style, so yeah. Then again, I'm not sure how many followers he has. He has 430 7K. Yeah. So yeah, people know him. Oh, that little that sounds like the Batman Arkham Origins little intro. Mixed with yeah, this sound right here is very dark.
Number 10, original premise. Are You Afraid of the Dark was the brainchild of American writer, director, and producer Donald James McHale, often known as DJ McHale, and executive producer Ned Candle. And when they first came up with the idea of Are You Afraid of the Dark, they had quite a different premise as opposed to what the show would become.
Yeah, it's kind of seems to be standard with a lot of TV shows.
The original idea was to have an elderly man sitting by a fireplace and telling fairy tales from an old book, with the show being less horror and, well, more fairy tale orientated. And it was supposedly called Bedtime Stories for Lazy Parents.
I always want a show like that now. I always want that show now.
However, it was felt that this idea may be a little on the boring side and that the premise needed to be spiced up. So they came up with the idea of a group of kids telling ghost stories and other horror tales around a campfire at night, which is much more of an alluring premise for the young pre-teen audience to relate to. And alas, the Midnight Society was created. The interesting thing is, a children's TV show with the premise of a wise old man sitting around a fireplace sharing fairy tales to an audience had actually been done several years earlier in Jim Henson's The Storyteller, which was broadcast in 1988.
Yeah, that's Jim Henson. That means a lot of puppets.
So really, it's just as well that the premise had changed, as the idea had already been done. Number 9, the title
Oh no, they remake everything now.
Came from Dr. Seuss.
That's
so we all know the show's iconic title, Are You Afraid of the Dark? When we hear it, we instantly think of the Midnight Society telling each other ghoulish stories, with that sentence being locked into the minds of 90s kids. However, that wasn't the original title of the show. Several internet sources have unearthed that Scary Tales was the original title pitch for the show, which, yeah, actually would have been fitting, as the show is indeed about scary tales. But those higher up in the production weren't too keen on the title Scary Tales, namely Nickelodeon. So the show's co-creator, DJ McHale, turned to none other than Dr. Seuss himself, namely the book What Was I Scared Of? He looked at the book's title and answered it in his mind, that he was afraid of clowns and he was afraid of the dark, and just like that he came up with the show's title. Perfect.
Also, that Are You Afraid of the Dark definitely fits in with the campfire setting and soda crack.
McHale also took inspiration from the classic Twilight Zone TV show, as each storyteller in Are You Afraid of the Dark would begin their tale by saying, submitted for the approval of the Midnight Society, which is a cheeky reference to Rod Serling, who would begin episodes of the Twilight Zone by saying, submitted for your approval. Well, I guess it makes sense, as like the Twilight Zone, Are You Afraid of the Dark is an anthology series with strange and fantastical stories.
Yeah, and also it's each kid telling the story for the rest of the group, so it would be the approval of everybody else.
Number 8, Are You Afraid of the Dark took a year to get greenlit. So with the show's
Yeah, it had a great intro music and a great outro music too.
Creators now having the basic structure of the show, there was one more hurdle to get through, and that was Nickelodeon themselves.
Yeah, the music you hear slightly behind him is the Are You Afraid of the Dark outro music.
Once DJ McHale and Ned Candle had a 3-page treatment of Are You Afraid of the Dark, they took it to a Nickelodeon executive, who rejected it, feeling
Look how great that original thing is. They showed a picture of it now. It's just a bland building.
that a scary show aimed at kids would never catch on. Yeah, tell that to Gremlins, Ghostbusters, and Goosebumps.
Danny Phantom is another one that hits right there too. The Addams Family.
So the idea sat on a shelf for about a year, just sitting there collecting dust, where it was considered a failed and rejected project. After that year time span, a new Nickelodeon executive took over called Jay Mulvaney, according to Mental Floss, where Mikhail and Candle pitched him the treatment for a different TV show, which he wasn't interested in. But when Mulvaney got his hands on the rejected Are You Afraid of the Dark treatment, he was like, oh heck yeah, this sounds awesome. And once again, according to Mental Floss, Mulvaney couldn't figure out why the previous executive passed up on the idea. So Mulvaney contacted Mikhail and Candle and asked them if they were still interested in making their Are You Afraid of the Dark TV series, and thankfully they were, and thus the show went into production and the rest was history. The only catch was, Nickelodeon wanted the stories to be based on old folklore and superstitions, like the monkey paw. So if parents ever complained, they can come back with a counter-argument that the show is based on well-known tales and literature.
Which is a good idea, because kind of what Detective Conan too, Case Closed, is a lot of the old mysteries just rewritten in modern day times.
Number 7. Filming.
It was filmed in Canada. That's about all I know.
So as mentioned, Are You Afraid of the Dark was a Nickelodeon production, which is a cable network for children which launched in 1979. And in the late 80s and early 90s, the company was releasing many memorable TV shows.
Yeah, it was.
Like Rugrats, Doug, Ren and Stimpy, Clarissa
Ren and Stimpy does not fit all the other ones.
Explains It All, Salute Your Shorts, and Hey Dude, among many, many others.
Out of all those, Hey Dude and Salute Your Shorts kind of for the less successful.
Although Are You
in my opinion.
Afraid of the Dark's production also teamed up with a Canadian production company, Cinar, which would later become Cookie Jar Entertainment. So yeah, Are You Afraid of the Dark became a Canadian production, which seems fitting as Canada has produced several really creepy live-action medias for kids. And thus the show was mainly filmed around Richmond, British Columbia, and the greater Montreal area of Quebec. However, the campfire scenes were apparently filmed on sound stages. Yeah, it was a set. And for each season, the campfire scenes would be filmed simultaneously, with the filming lasting about a week.
But yeah, because you need to film them telling the story, but the bulk of the episodes were the actual stories being shown.
Though there are other claims that it took 2 to 3 weeks to film them. I swear I was today years old when I found out that the campfire scenes were filmed on a set, as it looked so real and it looked so magical. Oh yeah, and in case I haven't ruined the magic enough for you guys, the magical dust that was sprinkled into the fire, which would create big flames and make the fire sparkle, well, that magic dust was in fact Coffee Mate, which is a lactose-free powder creamer that you put in your coffee. I guess simple but effective.
I was not going with Coffee Mate. I was figuring it was just sawdust.
But for all we know, maybe in the show's universe
well, then again, sugar is highly flammable.
Itself, the magical dust is Coffee Mate, and that one of the kids discovered that by throwing it into the fire, it causes big flames and it makes it sparkle and rise. And that every time they head out to the Midnight Society, they just take some of their parents' Coffee Mate. Who knows?
Or they went out and bought Coffee Mate themselves. It's an easy to buy product.
So, without lactose intolerances,
excuse me,
we wouldn't have those amazing fire title segues for each story. Number 6, famous guest stars. So throughout the original broadcast run of Are You Afraid of the Dark, there have been several famous or would-be famous faces showing up. The most famous case is the tale of Station 109.1, which featured a very young Ryan Gosling.
I thought he looked familiar.
As well as the late and great Gilbert Gottfried. Other familiar
Yeah, I knew Godfrey was there.
faces who turn up include future Darth Vader Hayden Christensen, who starred in an episode called The Tale of Bigfoot Ridge.
Yeah, that's definitely him.
Future Scream star Neve Campbell starred in an episode called The Tale of the Dangerous Soup, probably the only attempt to ever try and make soup sound threatening. Aaron Ashmore, who would go on to play Jimmy Olsen in Smallville, starred in 2 episodes, one being The Tale of the 13th Floor and
That was a good one.
Tale of the Lunar Locusts. And Sabrina the Teenage Witch actress Melissa Joan Hart starred in an episode called The Tale of the Frozen Ghost. And Eddie K. Thomas, who would go on to star as Finch in American Pie, featured in an episode called The Tale of the Curious Camera. And even one of the Midnight Society crew, Kristen, was played by Rachel Blanchard, who would go on to have a fairly successful career, having appeared in the popular TV show Fargo, although I'll always remember her from Road Trip. There are many other stars who I haven't mentioned, but mainly the ones that I know of. But either way, it seems like Are You Afraid of the Dark was something of a starting up launch pad for young actors to try and get their careers off the ground.
Well, yeah, it's kind of that. Also, the one Midnight Society person, I can't remember, Tucker, is the one of the main bad guys in the Boondock Saints 2. It's just a very funny thing, as I have an ad for the postal service I can't skip. I can skip this one. And click.
Number 5. Midnight Society Quirks. Despite the fact that each episode of Are You Afraid of the Dark is its own individual self-contained story, the one constant thing that binds all the episodes together and makes it an Are You Afraid of the Dark episode is the Midnight Society scenes, which although are there to introduce the episode's stories, they are actually a very important part of Are You Afraid of the Dark's identity.
Yeah, each kid kind of has their own specialty.
Series creator DJ MacHale initially didn't think the Midnight Society scenes would become as popular as they did. According to IMDb, he initially used the scenes to get to the stories, and he wanted to get there quickly, so we could have more of the spooky tales, which is what he thought the audience were tuning in for, and less scenes of kids sitting around a campfire. He knew that as an anthology series, the Midnight Society scenes were needed for consistency, but he wrote and directed the scenes to try and make them as short as possible. He wanted to have the scenes with a group of kids to be shown very briefly at the start and to then swiftly move on to today's episode, along with a very quick ending, as for the campfire stuff to not interfere with the actual tales. But over time, the Midnight Society would become possibly the most standout aspect of the show. I already mentioned that Ryan Gosling was in an episode of Are You Afraid of the Dark, but he was also offered the role to be a more permanent cast member of the Midnight Society, but he had to turn it down as he was already committed to the Mickey Mouse Club. Throughout the series,
Yeah, it kind of has a bigger swing to it than
we see many characters enter and leave the Midnight Society. The only face who stayed in the original run was that of Gary, played by Russ Hull, the founder and leader of the Midnight Society. Although, interestingly enough...
Yeah, Tucker, right here. This guy. Went on to be a bad guy in the Boondock Saints too.
Apparently Hull was originally cast as Frank, the more tough, no-nonsense member of the group. After the first season, the lenses were removed from his glasses, as they kept reflecting the campfire. Speaking of, it is said that in the show itself, with each episode, we never actually see the kids lighting up the campfire, as the production was worried about children actually learning to light fires by watching Are You Afraid of the Dark, and then...
Oh god, no, you need a lighter and dry wood.
And subsequently lighting fires all over the place. However, as pointed out once again by IMDb, this claim isn't entirely accurate, as in the episode The Tale of the Ghastly Grinner, the episode started with the Kiki character starting a fire by rubbing sticks together. Who knows, maybe they thought kids wouldn't have the patience to start a fire that way. Oh, and apparently a character does light up a lantern in one episode. And the member of the Midnight Society in the original run who told the most stories was Betty Ann, who all up would tell 12 stories. However, she would later on be beaten by Tucker, who would go on to tell 13 stories.
Yeah, hold on.
Later on be beaten by Tucker.
Yeah, here, I'll put up a photo of the Boondock Saints character that he plays, which is hilarious because his whole gimmick is he's short.
Who would go on to tell 13 stories.
Because he goes on and takes over the group and brings in his own friends.
Number 4. Inspiration for the stories. Despite the fact that a lot of the tales in Are You Afraid of the Dark were inspired by folklore, fairy tales, and urban legends, a lot of the tales were also entirely original that came from the production team. So how did those behind the stories manage to come up with so many different, innovative, and fascinating tales? Well, it goes...
Drugs. Yeah, I'm just joking. Storytelling is not hard. It's the writing. Like, if you can just come up with good stories, it's pretty easy. It's the bigger issue, like for someone like me, is actually the writing part.
back to the series creator DJ McHale. Whenever he would find out that a new season had been greenlit, in order to get outlines for stories for the upcoming season, he would have his location scout drive him around Montreal, Canada, to suss out potential locations which were available for filming. And when he would find a location that interested or fascinated him, he would then try to form ideas and stories based on the location, which I have to admit is a unique creative process. In addition to that, some real cemeteries were used for filming, which could actually be tricky due to a law which prevented the names on the headstones to be shown. So if a shot
That's a respectful law. I don't mind that one. It's weird, but respectful.
was to feature a real-life headstone in the background, a fake foam one with a fake name would be put in the shot to prevent the real headstone from being seen.
Pretty simple.
Number 3. Mosquitoes nearly ruined the show.
Yeah, I can believe it.
So in Are You Afraid of the Dark, there may have been many memorable creepy monsters, ghosts, demons, and other supernatural ghouls, but behind the camera, it seems that the biggest ghouls affecting the show were mosquitoes. For scenes that were set in dark, creepy woods, an arboretum in Montreal was used. However, due to a law, the crew were not allowed to harm the mosquitoes or use pesticides to get rid of them. And as a result of this, the crew would often have to wear gloves and protective clothing like beekeeper outfits, as they were getting eaten alive by the blood-sucking insects. The mosquitoes also affected the actors who were trying to perform, but had to deal with the annoyance of all the mosquitoes. And apparently certain takes were chosen on the account that they didn't feature cast members trying to swat the pesky little bugs.
Good job.
So the mosquitoes were actually playing a huge and probably unwelcome and annoying part of the show's creative process. That wasn't the only ailment affecting the crew, as the show's creator, DJ McHale, would often have to travel around Canada and America to find cast members for the show, where no doubt he came into contact with many actors, mainly children. And upon returning from Vancouver, he had to quarantine in Montreal for 10 days, on the account that his casting encounters led him to catching chickenpox. I guess
Guess you never had it as a kid, and that's really bad if you didn't have a kid or the vaccine. Because apparently it's a lot worse as adults.
sometimes people really do suffer for their art. Number 2. Creating the spooky theme under the strangest of conditions. Another memorable aspect of Are You Afraid of the Dark is its haunting theme. There is a slower, more subtle, scary version at the start, and then a louder, more bombastic version in the end credits. The iconic theme was composed by American musician Jeff Zahn, who had worked on the music for other children's TV shows and movies. The theme just came to him in his head when he was at the Montreal airport waiting for his plane to arrive. While waiting, he thought about the premise of the show being about ghouls and ghosts and mysteries and other paranormal going-ons, and the aspect of it being a children's show. And just like that, he started to sing the theme tune. He needed to write it down quickly, but on the account that he was at an airport waiting for a flight, he didn't have any music paper, so he wrote the notes down on a napkin. As soon as he got to a piano, he created the rest of the theme, and claims that the whole thing just came to him very quickly and easily. And the music is perfect for the show. It sounds spooky and sinister, but it also has a childlike innocence and playfulness about it. It kind of lets you know that you're watching a horror show, but it's okay, kids. You're in safe hands, as this is a horror show that you can watch, one that is made just for you. And so, one
Yeah, I like it because it's actually just always a spooky.
trip to an airport later, and a classic, memorable children's theme tune was created. Number 1. Legacy.
Now, like about the intro is you had the spooky one that starts off the show, which got you ready for the scary stuff, and then the more fast-paced ending music was the way to kind of like, all right, cool, it's over.
Are You Afraid of the Dark was first broadcast in 1990 with a pilot episode, with a full season which followed in 1992 and ran till 1996. As mentioned, the series was featured on the Nickelodeon channel in America, whereas in Canada, it was first featured on the Family Channel before moving to channel YTV, probably because of the dark, scary content of some of the episodes, and the YTV channel was more aimed at younger teenagers. It was shown during the 90s in Australia on the channel ABC, which is a government non-commercial channel, kind of like our version of the BBC. Are You Afraid of the Dark was always shown here during school holidays, with them being broadcast about midday Monday to Fridays, as the ABC channel often broadcasts kids shows during the day during school holidays.
Stateside, it was East Coast stateside. It was right around 5 o'clock.
For bored kids who were stuck at home while their parents were at work. And some of these shows included Teabag, Round the Twist.
Oh, I'm sorry, what? You had a show called Teabag?
Art Attack, and of course, Are You Afraid of the Dark? I can remember the very first
I was looking at past the show. There was a show called Teabag in the UK.
episode I saw was the tale of the Laughing in the Dark, and I can
Such a great episode.
remember that Zebo clown scared the crap out of me. And just like that, I was hooked and made sure that I watched every episode. I always
It's always more fun when you're always having more fun when you're laughing in the dark.
thought it was like a kid's version of Tales from the Crypt. The show was hugely popular and compulsive viewing for tweens and teens. The show's first run ran from 1992 to 1996, with 5 seasons consisting of 65 episodes. It was then decided to pitch the show to buyers in other parts of the world, where in 1999 more episodes were produced in order to attract potential buyers. The show's second run only consisted of a further 2 seasons, consisting of 26 episodes, and now mainly had an entirely new cast. According to IMDb, the series came to an end in the year 2000 because the Canadian company Cinna, who were co-producing the show, ran into some business issues. And so the show ended with an episode called The Tale of the Night Nurse, which was broadcast on June the 11th, 2000. And just like that, a generation who grew up watching Are You Afraid of the Dark were no longer going to get any more ghoulish episodes.
Or that's what you thought.
Just like that, it was done. For the time being, anyway. In 1998, it said that there were plans for an Are You Afraid of the Dark movie, beating the Goosebumps brand by 17 years. But it never came to be because series creator DJ MacHale wrote a script, but Nickelodeon deemed it too dark, and MacHale didn't want to make changes to his script, so that was done. Then in 2017, an Are You Afraid of the Dark movie was in the works again, but was then dropped again. However, another revival series came out in 2019 in a 3-part series called Carnival of Doom. Wait, is that Matt Smith on the poster? I swear that's Matt Smith. Followed by a 6-part series called Curse of the Shadows in 2021 and another 3-part series called Ghost Island in 2022. Now, I haven't seen any of the modern series.
I thought they did do a... Hold on, I have to fact check him for a split second. I know the one episode, like a mini movie series. Do 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 do. Yeah, that was a 4-part
But I am
episode.
glad that the Are You Afraid of the Dark brand is still going, and that current young generations get to experience it, as it is a great concept. Without a doubt, Are You Afraid of the Dark has become a staple of my childhood, along with many other 90s kids who grew up watching it. It taps into that youthful side of you that wants to be scared in that fun, playful way, while also providing a layer of safety in that you know that these tales are just stories and it's never going to get too horrific. It was the perfect introduction to horror to young audiences who were starting to get
Yeah, that right there was like a 5 or 6 episode thing where it was like, that could have been technically a movie.
Intrigued and fascinated by the horror genre. Even though us viewers weren't part of the Midnight Society, we still tuned into every episode, and in doing so, kind of made us feel like we were members of the Midnight Society in the safety of our own homes, with exciting anticipation to go on a scary adventure. Are You Afraid of the Dark may have had plenty of nightmare fuel, but it also filled us with many great memories of watching this amazing show.
Yeah, it was kind of Goosebumps for Goosebumps.
I love Are You Afraid of the Dark? And I never grew out of it. Even now, I can just sit back and watch a couple of episodes and just get engrossed in them. And it just takes me back to when I was 12 years old. And it reminds me of what it's like to be a kid again. I also like how most of the episodes have moral lessons. Like being brave, being honest, don't steal, be kind, don't bully, and don't be selfish, and so on and so forth.
No, most horror movies kind of have those avenues in it too.
And really, when you think about it, life lessons are always at the heart of fairy tales. That's why they exist. The show was lots of fun, and it was a great introduction to horror. Anyway, I'm Minty, and I declare this meeting of the Midnight Society closed. See ya!
That wasn't bad. It's kind of, like I said, it's kind of its own personal twist to it. Yeah, I'm a big fan of it. I saw this pop up, so I figured I would just do it. That's it. That's all I have. If you made it this far, you might as well just do the thing. Like if you like this video. Subscribe if you seem like me. Thank you. Share. Help grow this channel so I can do cool, stupid things. Comments are always welcome. And you can dislike it, and I hold it personally against you. But since it doesn't tell me who disliked it, can't yell at you personally. Yeah, if you can help get this to 80, I'll go mustache for like 3 videos. That's it. That's all I got. See you weird people later.